Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we're looking at the Friedrich der Große. And here she is. No, of course it's not the Friedrich, it's the Große Kurfürst, named after the Elector of Brandenburg, Frederick William, who is not Frederick the Great, a different Frederick. And it's important to know your Fredericks. If you don't know the history of this, have a look at the comment section of my last Tier 9 German battleship review. Anyway, Tier 10, the German line, the Großer Kurfürst. Here we are. This ship never existed. Neither did the Friedrich der Große, to be honest, but at least we have some idea, historically, what these ships were supposed to be looking like. So these were the H-class battleships, plan of the Germans during the Second World War to rearm to the point where they could challenge the British in terms of fleet. They were planning a whole lot of carriers, battleships, and all manner of things. They never got around to doing this because, well, war happened, and they needed material for other stuff like submarines and tanks and planes and things of immediate importance, rather than building large battleships that would challenge the British supremacy of the seas at the time. Also, Hitler wasn't particularly happy with the performance of German surface raiders, but that's a topic for another video. He threw a bit of a fit, really, and almost scrapped them all. Anyway, H-class. So the H-class designs, this is still one of the more realistic designs, rather than the what would happen if sort of things. Because this is probably the H-41. We're not 100% sure, because wargaming hasn't really adhered to the historical sort of designs. Theoretically, the Friedrich der Große should have been an H-41 as well, but that would have meant she would have gotten the 420mm main guns, and she didn't. She got the 400 ones. So the Große Kurfürst gets the 420s. But also in terms of displacement and length in all is a little bit larger than the actual plans were provisioning for the H-41s, but by no means as large as the H-42s, which would have had the 480mm guns. And, this all goes up to, I think, H-44s with 500-odd millimeter guns. So, but these were just design studies, sort of like what would happen if we made something that large? Could that actually work? Whereas these things were incorporating some thought of we want to make things that can compete with the Lion class, the British planned big battleship things, and at the same time lessons learned from, we get bombs dropped on our ships and that occasionally doesn't work so well, so let's reinforce the deck. Also, we get hit by torpedoes quite a bit, so actually let's make a steering system that deals with this sort of thing, like Bismarck. So she had quite some improvements in terms of armor. And again, the guns were supposed to be just, bigger than the British, because as you know, in war and everywhere else, it's about who has the biggest. The Große Kurfürst in the game. She has 64,000 HP, base HP, when you fully upgrade her. That is pretty monstrous. She also has a 27% citadel protection. That's also pretty monstrous. She has a 25% damage reduction. That is also very large. And these values together are making her the tankiest of the Tier 10 ships by quite a margin. She is also relatively quick with 28 knots. And again, that's because the Germans always wanted their ships to be relatively quick. The time it takes her to get to that speed, though, is rather abysmal. And so is the turn time. I've got her down to 17 seconds, and it's still not great fun. This ship does not like to turn. Let's put it this way. She definitely does not like to turn. Which brings us to the guns. Now, traditionally, I would have said German battleships are secondary builds. And up to Tier 8, that is absolutely, definitely true. If you have a Bismarck, you should play her as a secondary. The Friedrich already was a bit of a on the verge thing here. But with the Kurfürst, it's a different story altogether, in my opinion. So let's look at the guns. All the H-class battleships had 8 guns. So again, we're taking the regular twin turret setup, 2 forward, 2 aft. They all get 19-second reload, which for the caliber of the guns is very, very good, but that's because they only get 8 of them. Things like the Montana get 12. Even the Yamato, which is bigger gun, still gets an additional one. So here we have the 420mm L48 means the caliber, so 48 calibers in length on the barrel, and a range of over 14 kilometers, which is quite impressive, but necessary. The alpha damage, as is on the AP, which is common for German battleships, is monstrous, with over 2,000. The high explosive damage is terrible. Don't use it unless you're firing at destroyers. Setting fires is not also something you want to do with these things, so terrible high explosive. That's when the ship starts deviating, because while the Friedrich der Große still had 12 150mm secondaries, which is historically accurate according to the plans, for some reason the Große Kurfürst only gets 8. Which means we only have, and since they're mounted towards the side of the ship, I mean, you can kind of spot them there among the whole barrage here. There they are on the outside. You can only overuse 4 of them at one particular direction, which combined with, well, they're doing a decent amount of damage, but 605 alpha damage times 4 is with an 8-second reload is not enough to deter destroyers, especially that the accuracy on these guns, even though they're on paper the same guns, to me feels absolutely terrifyingly bad. Well, I haven't really built her for secondary, but I have been struggling as a secondary build with this thing. Now, we get 2 guns less on the 150s, but in turn we get now 128mm auto secondaries. And we get a whole flurry of them, 20. They reload reasonably fast, they have a decent range, but they only fire high explosive. And so against destroyers, they're kind of okay, but they're auto secondaries. So on a bow-in destroyer, they're not going to do very much because they're probably not extremely accurately aiming. And again, this is historically not accurate because historically the H-41 plan had 105mm secondaries as the other set after the 150s. So having this ship as a secondary build, especially in a top-tier meta, didn't really feel like it would work. The anti-air has been vastly improved. And again, this is accurate because that's historically what the Germans were doing after finding out that their battleships were relatively easy to defeat from the air. Now, to be fair, the British have found that out as well, but everybody had to make that particular discovery and tell the Japanese about it. And surface detection is from low Earth orbit, so don't even bother. For the elite bonus, I have not taken the secondary gun spec. And again, my reasoning here is that with the 2, well, that's 1/3 of the 150mm removed, basically. She just doesn't have the firepower, I find, to deter destroyers successfully. And especially that this thing literally cannot turn. So if you're trying to outturn a destroyer and actually get to the point where you're running away from them, good luck with that. You could use your speed to open up the distance, but how in the world you're supposed to do that, I don't know in this ship. So I built her for tank because I think that fits the current meta a lot better, where positioning is rather campy. And it plays her to her strengths, right? Her strengths are health and armor. Health pool and armor pool. She can take, well, I mean, it's a huge ship, right? This thing makes the Yamato look tiny. I mean, at least in the game, if she's next to her. But what you can do with this is hold positions and tank an awful lot of incoming fire and hope that your teammates can make use of, well, all these ships not shooting at them and do something about it. So that's what I went with. And that's also reflected in my equipment. So instead of the secondary battery mod 1 for faster secondary reload, or the secondary mod 2 for range and dispersion, I have actually decided to go with the main battery mod 3. Literally because one thing I found in top tier battles, and you're not going to get in tier 8 battles with this thing, you're top tier. Destroyers just do not make the same mistakes that allow you to do, like in a Freddy, for example, to go and, use your secondaries against them while dodging their torpedoes. This is not something that happens in top tier, in my experience. 90% of the time, if there's a destroyer that catches me and I don't have cruiser support, I am dead. Or, well, at least I'm eating all his torpedoes. I'm not necessarily dead because I'm rather tanky, but yeah. For the second slot, I have the deck protection modification because HE spammers are real. If you've ever been facing a Worcester in tier 10, oh, good lord. Yeah, so that's the thing. And I actually have the steering gear mod 2 in the third slot. And again, I would have loved to take the torpedo defense mod, and it would have made sense, especially what I just said, that when a destroyer decides that you're going to be torpedoed, you're pretty much going to be torpedoed. But I did find that, especially when I'm tanking, I do need to be able to turn the ship a bit faster, and to be able to get into bow-in positions, or just generally to dodge under long-range battleship fire if I have 2 or 3 battleships firing at me. So that's kind of the setup I've done. And again, it's not the only setup. It's not the correct setup. There is, it's certainly possible to set her up in different ways. And I'd be very curious to hear from you if you have the ship, how you've set her up, and what your experience with it is. The commander, Mr. von Hipper, is still running, and he's not quite fully upgraded yet, but he's getting there. So we have underwater protection, we have the improved armament repair instead of the torpedo detection, which makes sense because she does get sonar. I've got the artillery maintenance for improved accuracy while you're still having 3/4 of your health, which is quite a lot of health in the ship. The Sixth Sense, which is extremely useful skill. I would definitely not skip on that. Survivalist is definitely out in there. I've got the Recon and Surveillance for better sonar. I've got the Marksman for better precise aiming, and she does get the precise aiming skill. I've got the Extinguisher here for reduced damage from fire, because again, bane of my existence. We do get the Close Quarters Combat Expert here, and I kind of would have liked the Demo Expert, but it's just too good. So this actually really already improves the secondary dispersion. And, well, if you're in situations where your secondaries open up, then that is quite useful. Now, next up, probably either compartment maintenance or honor seeker. Although compartment maintenance really is, I don't usually flood that easily because you normally know when you're being torpedoed, but it might be useful. And especially the armor piercing cap shell, and we'll get to that in a second. Because these 420s are special. Let me put it that way. So, enough of the words. Let's give it a go. In this first battle, we are top tier. There's a tier 9 carrier on the enemy team, 2 divisions on the enemy team, another Kurfürst, a Republik, Yamato, Friedrich der Große, and a lonely Mino and 1 destroyer. So, we're playing Encounter. And our team is definitely deficient in the battleship side, from what I can tell. So the enemy team has 4 battleships, and we have 2. It's relatively unusual. But Ibuki, Neptune, yeah, these are not terrible cruisers. There's something we can do about these. So let's see where my team's heading, and let's see where we are going. So the Neptune's definitely heading inwards. There's a Mino as well. We've got a Khabarovsk. Okay, we've got some good AA here with the Neptune, so it'd be nice if he would stay, but okay, it looks like Ibuki is AFK. It's a good start for things. So I'm getting slowly into position to do something about the enemy battleship line. Oh, no, Ibuki woke up. Okay, welcome to the battle. Okay, is there something I can shoot at? I don't want to rush in, because there are 2 ships that have bigger guns than me, and one that has guns as big as me. So I'm actually one of the lowest calibers here. There's the Republik and the Yama. There's the Yama. Okay, he sees me, he targets me obviously. There come his shots out. How fast are you going? Probably not very fast yet. So I'm gonna lead a little bit. Okay, these have missed because I've also slowed down. Shots out at the Yama. And we get a citadel, but we also get 7 hits for 9,000 damage. That is not great. We got 1 citadel, but the rest was bounces and semi-pens at this distance. There's the other Kurfürst firing at us. So let's keep up the fire at the Yamato. He seems to have repaired. That seems premature. Okay, there comes another citadel, but that's better. 8 hits. So we got all our guns on target. That was about 11,000 damage, so that's better. And Yamato has a lot of health. So that might take a while. He's stationary, broadside on. Okay, let's keep firing at him. What's my team doing in the meantime? I've got 2 battleships firing at me. So that's that. There's another citadel on the Yamato. Ow, ow. Okay, time for me to heal as well. Okay, I've got a Friedrich der Große, I've got a Yamato, and I've got a Kurfürst. Currently I'm only targeted by 1. So I'm just backing up a little bit. But my team seems to be in no rush to push anywhere. Our other battleship is broadsiding on and doing I don't know what over there. So with the precision mod, we actually get we are very good at getting these shots on target. Now the problem I'm having with these 420s is that they're very variable. Okay, I'm not being targeted anymore, so it's time to move forward again. They're very variable in how much in how much damage they can do and what they penetrate. Gonna see if I can get shots out at the Friedrich there, because that's a tier 9 and she doesn't not have the improved deck armor that I do. So maybe if I can hit her from here, it can do some damage. So the problem with the 420s is that I do not get the greatest results. Okay, that was better. I do not get the greatest results from them in terms of penetration. And again, I'm targeted by 2 ships, so I'm holding 2 ships down, which is good, because as long as they're shooting at me, they're not shooting at someone else. But unfortunately, we've lost 1 cruiser, and the rest of them seems to be somewhat engaged in a flanking stalemate over there. Okay, I've got the Kurfürst shooting at me, and I've got I've got 3. So I've got the Yamato, the Friedrich, and the Kurfürst targeting me. Fortunately, the carrier leaves me alone, but it's the only saving grace here. Okay, so at this point, I'm holding down almost half the team. By just tanking, which again is what this ship is for. Okay, Friedrich gave up. He's trying to shoot elsewhere. What's it looking like? Does it look like we're going to sink anyone at any point? Because I don't have that much health. Shots out at the Friedrich, because he's probably the softest target. I would take the Yama if I could. So, you know, semi-pens, bounce, 1 full pen. That's usually sort of the thing you get at this range. And there's a bit of a problem I have with this gun caliber, because I would have expected more. Okay, there's a Minor. Minor is a much softer target, so let's see if we can citadel the Minor from here. But we're 10 kilometers, that should be entirely possible with 420 millimeters. Okay, at least we do full pens, that's 3 hits out of 4, and the Minor has beached himself. Okay, so, we lost one of our turrets, that's okay. We've got the quick turret repair, but we are getting murdered here by the Yamato and by the other Kurfürst. There comes the destroyer. Okay, we're dead. The only thing I can do at this point is see if I can get the Minor killed. No, he survives on almost. Did I get a semi-pen on a Minor? Literally, that's what I got. Okay, somebody else took out the cover, took out the Minotaur, but well, I held down half the team for. I had four ships targeting me at the end. I held down half the team for most of the battle, and well, we're still losing very convincingly. But you know, this is something you can do with this setup, with the tanking setup. That you can get into a position and you can take, you can sustain this position and you can draw fire from the rest of the enemy team. Now, unfortunately, if your team doesn't make anything of that advantage, then it's not that great. But again, you have a very big target. And it's relatively hard to actually push if you're being focused. But you can play her like this, right? You can play her as tanking the focus of enemy battleships and doing some damage in return. But again, in this case, you're completely depending on your team to make something of that scenario. So yeah, we've lost that obviously. Now the rest of the team's pushing obviously because they broke through me and everyone's dead. So. Yeah, we did what we could. And let's see what our damage numbers are looking like. Again, I think with the armor-piercing cap shell skill and getting a bit better penetration, I might be having a lot more potential in this ship. Right now, the 420s are very mixed at range. Yeah, we did the most damage in our team. Easy. And only the Republik did more damage than we did. And Republik has bigger guns than us as well. So, okay, let's do another one. So here we are again, on Cage. And we're top tier this time, double Mino on the enemy team. It's a Gearing and a Fletcher. So let's see how this plays out and where we can support our team best. I'm spawning on the left flank, so let's see what that cruiser's doing. I don't quite feel like going center. Not with double Mino and double Destroyer out there. There's going to be a lot of torpedoes. So let's see if we can get ourselves into a position from where we can enter the cap from the left flank. Because if we can clean that up there, then we get into a really good crossfire position. And what have we got? There's a Yama, Gearing. Right, our destroyers should be heading for the cap. There's a Republik, who seems to be a very good player, so I think there's enough battleship support around this side of the cap. There comes the carrier. And while we have a decent AA, we're not necessarily like a super anti-air ship, so... Okay, there's Gearing. Gearing spotted. And there's the first Mino. Okay, yeah. Carrier, if you could please take care of the destroyers, I'll take everything else from here. Okay, Minotaur. That might have not been enough lead. I think he was accelerating. Yeah, that's just one overpen at the stern. I'm still getting used to the flight time of these. Okay, there's the Izumo. There's the other Mino. Mino smokes up. Can we get another shot out? Oh no, he's turning around rather radically, so I'm pretty sure these are gonna miss. I'm just watching out if the Gearing or the Mino have been sending torpedoes out. Izumo's a bot, so don't really have to worry about him too much. Now, enemy team's it's got the cap, but we're in a really good flanking position to get shots into everybody here. That's one hit on the Mino, unfortunately only. See if we can get another one in. I'm just running the Hydro to see if anybody's dropping here. Another overpen. Not having luck with these Minotaurs today. Okay, what else we got? There's the Iowa. Iowa's inside the cap in a holding position. There's the other Mino. I want to get the Minos out of the way. I can ignore that Mino for a bit. There's Gearing. Is he rushing me? Minimap says no, he's turning actually away. And again, just a couple of overpens on the Mino. I really need to manage to hit him in the center. Has Gearing gotten torps away? Don't know, I'm not seeing any quite yet. I just really want that Mino gone. Okay, should hopefully be a bit more on target. The other Mino is not going anywhere near us. I'm just waiting for Gearing to either die. Okay, someone took out the Mino. So there's no more torpedoes coming up this way. There comes the Gearing torps. These are... Oh yeah, these are super wide spreads. They're going everywhere. So we've got the armor piercing loaded, so this is probably going to over-penetrate. But you know, one full pen actually does a decent amount of damage. And I think from here on I can just take him in secondaries. Take one torpedo, not even noticing that. And the secondaries, the auto secondaries should finish him off from here. There he goes. You cannot hide right next to a battleship with a Hydro. Okay, Iowa, battle cruiser, tier 9. Well, you might disagree, but that's again, this is a bit disappointing. I'm at 5 kilometers. I would like to have overpens. Sorry, these were the secondaries. Okay. Primaries again, 1 full pen, 2 full pens. Other ones, semi-pens. I can usually hurt an Iowa a lot more than this. Ah well, he's dead anyway. So that's that. What's left? One destroyer and there's the Mino. Okay. Mino is probably having torpedoes away, unless he just fired his torps. But my Hydros have cooldown, so let's wait. And just turn the front turrets around. And get shots out, broadside Mino. Semi-pens. Again, these are a little bit disappointing. In terms of I would have expected a Citadel here. I mean, I'm used to driving a mine. What are you doing? I'm sure his torpedoes are on reload, because otherwise he would have torped me already. He's probably just getting close enough to try and torp me, but you don't want to be in a close range fight with with a ship like this. Okay, he floods to death from the Essex, and I just keep shooting. I just keep shooting planes down. What's left? Nothing actually, because they took out. Yeah, we ruffle stomped that team. But that, you see, that's one thing. While I'm chasing the carrier here, that's one thing you can do as well. If you have a position where you can break through, then you can do a lot of damage, and you can. Well, again, you have the health to tank quite a bit of punishment, as we've seen in the last battle. And I've got the precision to hit things at long range with my main guns, even though they are probably, in terms of total broadside damage, among the weakest of the tier 10s. Just because there's only 8 of them. And while the caliber is large, there's definitely the Yama, and by now the Republik, which has larger calibers than the Friedrich der Große, so... I did that on purpose, sorry. Okay, it's the Essex. Let's see if we can get a citadel on the carrier. Maximum range, plunging fire, maybe. No luck, but we still get the kill on the carrier. So, all in all, you can still play her like a German battleship. Use your health and your armor to tank and break through, or to just hold position and tank and do long range artillery. I am not super happy with the penetration of the 420s. I think I don't know what it is. Is it muzzle velocity, or because the barrel length seems to be a bit shorter than on tier 9. So I'll have to look into these guns into more detail. But you're not necessarily the super brawler battleship anymore. I think she's definitely a decent long range ship as well. And it's really hard to brawl in tier 10 battles, because they are very campy, they are very tactical, they're very positional, which means that if you rush forward, you just get murdered by everybody. And even with the health and the armor on this ship, you really just can't sustain that against these big calibers. So, and destroyers. So that's why I switched over to a bit of more of a long range ship, which has the capability when necessary to lead a charge and to tank and break through. I'll be playing her for definitely a bit more, so I'll probably make a follow-up video if I find out anything new and interesting on how to play her better. Well, and especially once I get to the armor-piercing cap shell for this ship. So that's it for today. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.